International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
I'm David C. Chavis, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Joey Doncic is elite. That's what Luka does. The Lakers respond. We knew the Timberwolves role players were going to come back down to earth, but it was about setting the tone offensively, and Luka Doncic did just that. Never a question. That is why you buy in to the offense, the eliteness that Luka brings to the table with the ball in his hands as a Luka Doncic goes off early. The Lakers maybe cool off late, but they did enough to hold off Minnesota. What it do? Welcome into the opening drive. The transfer portal is closed. We are still here. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the transfer portal. There's a new Lobo in town. A lot more information on The Rock, who's coming to play at the Pit, the 7'1" center transfer from Iowa State. We'll dive into the Lobos roster. Big transfer portal news, as always, in discussions about name, image, and likeness, and contracts, and actual buyouts that schools are pursuing in these contracts. Yeah, he's not a contract. We'll get into that at the NBA playoffs last night, 1 day away from the first round of the NFL draft, and the news is picking up. What do you believe? Well, it doesn't matter what you believe. We can talk about what you want to see from your team. JJ Buck and Zay Johnson with you. Thanks for hanging out with us on The Sports Animal. Got Adrian holding it down on ProView Networks, Xfinity Channel 26, streaming online. But Luka Doncic, 31 points last night, set the tone early in the first quarter. But this time he had some help and better defensive performance from the players around him. But also, again, it was not going to be J.D. McDaniel scoring 25 points, Naz Reid scoring 23 points. Those guys came back down to earth, because if you look at the rest of the game, while the Lakers led 34-15 after the first quarter, they only scored 60 points over the next 3 quarters, but they set the tone early. And that's what you invest in. That's what you buy into with Luka Doncic. It's next level defense, absolutely tearing up anything that comes at him, destroying Rudy Gobert on switches, as we saw last year in the postseason when it was Dallas and Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. And then it allows LeBron James to be solid, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Austin Reeves had 16 points. Now, neither team could shoot a 3, which is why you look, it was 94-85. The
How
final
about
score
it? Good old
of that
2010 throwback.
I know.
Felt like the good old
Basketball
days.
back in the day.
Yeah, we love that. We love that. Also with Luka, how about, okay, I think you may have meant to say his next level offense earlier with attacking Rudy Gobert, but I want it to be the voice, probably the only person in the whole country that's going to get on any type of live platform and point this out. He was playing defense last night.
That's fine, dude.
He was playing
fine.
defense. He's shuffling his feet. He's getting in the way. He's forced
fine.
some bad decisions. Like
It's not the Nico Harrison level, but he's fine. We do not need to overpraise Luka Doncic.
Oh yeah,
for effort.
In the fourth quarter, oh my gosh, and talking about Ant Edwards, Rudy
did
Gobert.
nothing.
Yes, he did.
No,
Go
he
back. I'm telling you, go back, rewatch. It didn't matter who came into his zone, and that's the thing. The Lakers play a really good zone. I'm sure you noticed this because they play a lot of zone in college. They play like a zone, so he's also, in some aspects, he's not supposed to let people blow by him, but he knows he's got a secondary level of help. So I think oftentimes he may be really open to letting people go by him, but in that fourth
Dude,
quarter,
don't hurt your back. That is an
Eh.
extreme take right there. He's open to letting people go by him.
in zones, we know he's
They
got
don't play that
defensive
much
help.
zone.
The Lakers,
They don't.
that's all they play is zone.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The
It's
Lakers
called,
play zone.
I hope there's help defense because he's not staying in front of anybody, but that's okay because his offense is elite.
They play a lot of zone in LA, bro. I promise.
Okay. Okay, if that's what you want to call getting blown by because there's someone else on it's what you should do defensively. But we do not. Here's the thing. The Nico Harrison stuff, it was crazy, man. But we don't need to bend over backwards and act like at least basic effort defensively is great.
But it wasn't even basic. I'm saying he was making. If anybody has been watching him before before he played for the Lakers, maybe even before the playoffs, he was noticeably showing way more effort on defense. LeBron was too. I mean, it was the story that the commentators were pointing out. They're like, okay, the Lakers are actively out here being more physical. They're playing better defense. They're getting into the Timberwolves, and that is why their shooting percentage fell down so much. Yes, they're not going to go 11 for 13 and 4 for 4 from 3 and stuff like that, like they did game 1. Maybe they will in game 3. You never know. But in game 2, like the Lakers as a team, it wasn't just Luka. Everyone made more of an effort to play more defense. But I was impressed that he also stepped up to the plate because people act like he doesn't try, and it's like he's
just not good at defense.
It's like just because you can't lock down Anthony Edwards does not mean this guy's not good defensively.
No. We shouldn't be surprised about basic effort when we get to the NBA playoffs. Did they need to pick it up? Absolutely. But I'm going to break my back trying to say that was a good defensive performance from Luka Doncic. It was better effort from the Lakers.
You shouldn't have to, but the way he was getting, and like you said, it's not Nico level, but the way he was getting slandered so much, it's like, okay, they were making you not even really care about his offense. Like, oh, every time someone talks about his offense, yeah, but his defense, it's like, okay, it's not
you
that
have an
bad.
elite offensive player, which, again, as we've discussed and we've gone back and forth, like, to me, I build around that. I figure it out when people get by him. As you said, you have defensive plans behind that, the length you play behind that, and the effort was there from the Lakers. It was a good response because they were called out by their head coach and their physicality. Players like LeBron James and Luka Doncic responded to that, didn't talk back or didn't say, woe is me, this or that. They responded, and LeBron talked about actually having a good practice. Yes, NBA players do practice. He said they were locked in, realized what they needed to do physically. And that's the one thing with Luka Doncic is I appreciate watching his game. Is he's not a good defender, but he talks about effort, right?
Yes.
He's not a dude that isn't trying. And again, with Luka Doncic, the elite offensive game he brings, the ability to elevate everyone else, the ability to be that scorer, like, I'm okay with some of the deficiencies of that, the other end. I will figure it out. If I am a general manager with him on my team, just like the Lakers did, happily making that trade, send away Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. And you saw it last night, just the different effort intensity was going to make it a little bit tougher for the T-Wolves because they weren't going to be that hot. It's the ebbs and flows of a series.
I want to see a game when both teams' role players are going.
Hitting shots.
I want to see, and it's going to happen eventually. I want to see, once I can see how the game looks, when that happens, then I feel comfortable. Like you said, I love the effort. I love the adjustments that the Lakers made.
It's a choppy game, too. 46 fouls, a lot of challenges that were available from the coaches. They were using them. Chris Finch, head coach of Minnesota, actually won 2 in a row. So, he was on the officials after that a lot. But the Lakers set the tone early. It was offense and, yes, the defense, the effort from L.A. And the one thing with the Lakers, and, a lot of these teams, there's something that feels a little bit off. Right now, there's 3 teams where you're like, my goodness. It's OKC, Cleveland, and Boston, where you just see everything is in place. Yeah, others are going to have to work a little bit harder in certain areas. It's the way it is. And one of the things with the Lakers, and you mentioned it, is that the others on offense. Like, you can compete, and they can ride LeBron, Luka, Reeves well. It's, are you going to get anything else? And if we have one of those games in the series, it's definitely going to be exciting. But it's 2 games that it was, game 1, the Lakers got pushed around, had nothing. Game 2, the Timberwolves get pushed around, had nothing. So what's it going to be like when you have that tight contest? Because I'm going to trust the Lakers in the fourth quarter with Luka and LeBron breaking things down. Because in a tight contest, it's Anthony Edwards But we will see. I think we're going to get that. At some point in time, we will get that in their series when things are clicking for both teams. It was last night after hitting 21 3-pointers in game 1. T-Wolves were just 5 of 25 from the field. The Lakers weren't much better, 6 of 29. But again, it goes to Luka Doncic early, then finishing off with 31 points, 12 boards, 9 assists. LeBron solid, 21, 11, and 7. Reeves have 16. And that's the offensive formula you're looking for from the Lakers. But again, as you're talking about, it's that effort defensively. And that's what, with any of these teams, whether we talk, Nuggets, Clippers series, the effort defensively, it matters from everyone on the floor.
And I really wanted, especially there's a play, I believe it was in the third quarter, where the Timberwolves had cut the lead down to 11, and Luka had just lost control of the ball, and they were going the other direction, and then LeBron caught a steal on a fast break, went down, got a bucket, pushed it back to 13. That there is what saved the game. So, although the Lakers won, I do still remember distinct times when this game could have went a lot different. So, to your point, there's really not predictable game 3, game 4. This series it's very, very tight, and it's going to be a fun one.
505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line to get in this morning. The Pacers victorious over Milwaukee, 123-115. They have a 2-0 series lead in that one. OKC continues to cruise in their matchup against Memphis, 118-99. The final there. Man, we have to question what's next in Memphis. Yeah, they fired their coach a little while ago, but you look at this trio, this core, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Who's the odd man out? And where does Ja Morant fit? Can he be a number 1 on a team, someone that you lean into, someone that you rely on to take your squad to the next level? 3 more games tonight. Orlando at Boston, Miami at Cleveland, Golden State at Houston. Fascinated by that contest. Can Houston respond after falling on their face in the first half offensively in game 1? Just how much can you learn from game 1 to 2 when you are a young playoff team, when you're going through it for the first time with those expectations like the Houston Rockets are? Got a new Lobo in town. We'll talk with Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, coming up at 9 o'clock. So much going on in the transfer world, and schools addressing NIL contracts and trying to get buyouts from players. And it might not have realized that schools have been doing that. But what does it mean moving forward? So much to get to. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
It's part sports. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
J.J. Buck, Zay Johnson with you this morning. 505-246-0610. Sports Animal Hotline and text line. Tip of the cap to Damian Lillard, man, I didn't think he was going to be able to play as much as he did coming back. Played 37 minutes in game 2, had 14 points, but was just 4 of 13 from the field. So a little rusty offensively. But you look at that Milwaukee team, and there's going to be a lot of what if with Giannis in his career. And the injuries, what we saw last year where he wasn't available, Dame wasn't available in the postseason. So that's a missed opportunity. This year, coming into the playoffs with Dame not available, game 1 coming back, but again, a question mark. Some of the injuries we saw after they won a championship and they beat the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals, and Chris Middleton could never be healthy, and then that crew really wasn't able to find consistency. We have 2 dominant players of a generation in Giannis and Nikola Jokic. That it's going to feel like a missed opportunity if these guys only end up with 1 championship each.
Oh, yeah, and
It
make
is
it worse.
so hard to win a title.
And it's like there's no Michael Jordan that's just dominating, that's stopping them.
And we saw, when you think back, all right, what have we seen? And we saw the Heat run where they were just getting constantly to the finals in the Eastern Conference, and that was the one you couldn't overcome. The Warriors run.
That was unfair. With KD, it was unfair.
Yeah. It was next level. But the Warriors did it before and after Kevin Durant, which shows how good of a franchise and how good Steph is. Now, we've had a different NBA champ the last 6 years. And so there's parity in the NBA. There's opportunity in the NBA. And now is this maybe Boston's little window where they pick off a couple? That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But it is crazy, and it's just a symptom of what we do when we just try to analyze things, when we always want to rank things and put in perspective that winning 1 championship isn't good enough. It's hard to do that in sports. It's hard to win any title, cut down nets, get a ring for whatever you're doing. But you're looking at Giannis and Nikola Jokic. I look at Jokic because you're looking at a 3-time NBA MVP, and everyone's like, well, but he only has 1 NBA championship. Right now, it's the what if factor, because you're looking at Milwaukee in this series. I understand Dame not 100%. I think the Pacers are underrated, as I've discussed this entire week. Like, that's a good franchise that makes good roster decisions. Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam are problems when they're on the floor. They're really good. But you do look at Milwaukee and go, all right, what have you done, Doc Rivers? Like, what plan are you putting in place? Like, where's the effort defensively? Because you're getting crazy games out of Giannis. 34 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists. And they weren't close to being in either game 1 or game 2.
And we've been asking that question to Doc Rivers since the Boston days.
Right. Like, what are you bringing to the table? Like, what is the plan in place? I get Dave's not there, but you have Giannis. Bobby Portis is in the lineup. Brooke Lopez is a serviceable defender at the center position. Like, what are you doing to try to elevate that team? I don't see it.
Yeah, no. I guess Dame, I think the reason why this one was closer than the first one, and even then, I mean, it was still kind of lopsided at times. But Dame just being even 50% of what he can be, I think, was enough to make this close. Hopefully, this game helped get some of the rust off. I know he hit a big 3 late in that game to bring them within, 2? So, maybe the next game coming up, he can be a little bit more locked in. Milwaukee can just squeak 1 out and then see what happens from there. Being down 2-0, it's not like you're down 3-0. And I'm not to sound very cliche, but
no, again, there's always some truth in cliches.
Yeah, statistically, 3-0 would be terrible. So there's still hope.
Got to find some hope. Because Giannis is playing hard. I know the undercurrent when it comes to Giannis in Milwaukee is, where's Giannis playing next? What's his next destination? He's putting up the stat lines. They got to figure out something, a plan around him to be more competitive at this point in time with who they have on the roster. Again, Tyrese Halliburton, who was wild to me. So The Athletic did a player survey, and that came out, and Tyrese Halliburton was voted the most overrated player in the NBA. I'm like, all right. And so he just goes out there, has 21 points, 12 assists. While Pascal Siakam has 24 points, 11 rebounds, hit a late 3, to make sure Milwaukee's second half push did not go anywhere. And after the game, Halliburton said, well, quote, I think that Pascal Siakam is the most underrated player in the NBA, to be honest. And it's an overlooked market. It's an overlooked franchise. Those two dudes are legit. So I'm not surprised that the Pacers are winning this series, but you look at Giannis and Doc in Milwaukee, and just wondering where's that effort, right? The effort we talked about from the Lakers, piecing something together, figuring it out, and how they have not been able to figure something out that works.
I think the Bucks are just maybe, they're mentally a little bit broken, and, that is a knock on the coach as well, if you're going to say a team's mentally broken. So, yeah, I think this next game is huge for them. You got to try and get a win at home if you're going to give yourself any chance in this series. Yeah, it's not looking too good for Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a confidence.
And I think as far as Halliburton, I think a lot of players are really salty that he got that Team USA invite. Not that he's maybe not overrated, but I guarantee a lot of them were like, "Oh man, this guy."
Yeah, and then
I bet Derek
with
White's
Team USA and Tatum not getting playing time. Well, it's not Tyrese Halliburton didn't play a ton either, but I can understand that. Just some of those.
At least he was smiling. He was happy to be there. Tatum was upset. Halliburton's like, I shouldn't be playing anyways.
Heck yeah.
He's like, I'm happy to be here.
And guess what? They won.
Yeah, so you can't even knock it.
There you go.
But, yeah, Halliburton, I think he's a good player. I love his ball handling and decision-making. And if his shot's falling, then he's exactly what the league sets him out to be.
Yeah, and Pacers just solid, man, and I appreciate that. Because to me, it's okay to be in between. It doesn't always have to be, well, if you're not winning a championship, then you need to throw everything away to suck for something else. You can be competitive, and maybe it's your moment. Or maybe it's your time to take that step forward and take advantage of something else that happens. And could you take advantage of an injury? Because Boston could have a question mark. Now, it shouldn't be a problem for them in their round one series, but Jason Tatum is dealing with lingering soreness, pain from his fall in game one. He is doubtful for tonight. We'll get into the game two action we'll see this evening in the NBA playoffs. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line. The Lobos have a rock in the middle. Heard some more from their new signing, the 7'1" center transfer from Iowa State. Yeah, the transfer portal is closed, but there's still plenty of players in the portal looking for a place to go. Recruiting is not done, but what does The Rock bring to the Lobos roster this season? We'll talk about that next here on The Sports Animal.
This report is brought to you by Valentine's Pool and Spa, your one-stop shop for all your pool needs.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Teams around the country, the transfer portal officially closed last night. What does that mean? Well, no more players should be able to enter the transfer portal. If you're in the portal, you can still get recruited, go to a new team, go back to your old team, go to the NBA draft. It's all there for you. But in terms of players entering the portal, it should be shut down for now. And the only things that could change that at this point in time would be a coaching change. And the 30-day window opens for players on a team that has a coaching change. But here we are. Transfer portal is closed, and you look at the numbers. 2,499 Division I men's basketball players entered the transfer portal, according to verbal commits.
Sheesh.
So that number has steadily gone up. Of course, things have changed. The unlimited transfers, name, image, and likeness. So you're chasing the hope of a big check on the other end of the transfer. So if you go back to, 2021, there was 1,653. And, the 21, 22, 23, and really 24 seasons, you were dealing with the extra deal of eligibility because of COVID. And that was one that made sense to me. You cancel seasons across the board. You give back that year to everyone. And it was like, all right, we'll figure this out at filters. But then you add in the ruling this year of JUCO players getting an extra year of eligibility, seniors that are out of eligibility, but then throw their name in the transfer portal because they think that maybe there's another lawsuit around the corner. It's just crazy now, but it's steadily increased over the last few years. So at 2,083 last year, then jumped up to 2,499 players this year. And I understand the frustration. And until something is figured out in terms of, all right, what structure does this look like? This is what it's going to be. And you're going to have a lot of turnover, and especially when you have a coaching change, you can see entire rosters blown out. 44 teams had 10 or more players transfer. And it's not just coaching changes, and it's not just bad teams. Baylor's a good basketball program. They won a national championship 4 years ago. And you combine, of course, players that graduated and players that transferred, entered the portal, and their entire team was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to re-recruit. And you get back to work. Hopefully you have a good collective. And the Lobos have a quality collective with 505 Sports Ventures Foundation, Kurt Roth and company setting the tone.
How about it?
And it's allowed Eric Olin to hit the portal and not only bring in some high school players that he believed in to go to UCSD. And I know the question, can they compete at this level? I'm going to say yes, they can compete in the Mountain West Conference, and then attack the transfer portal. And we saw another addition yesterday. JT Rock, 7'1", 260-pound center from Iowa State, former top 100 player out of high school, reclassified his junior season. So he got to Iowa State early, redshirted his freshman season. Just needed to get stronger. And he was a tall, skinny guy, so he hit the weight room. He has limited appearances last year. He played behind an experienced front court. Iowa State had a fifth-year senior center, a six-year senior center, and then when they'd go small, they'd put the 6'9" forward Joshua Johnson inside, and Johnson ended up being a second-team All-Big 12 selection. So the opportunity just wasn't there for JT, so he takes the next step in his career, just trying to jumpstart his collegiate career at the University of New Mexico. But 7'1" center that's worked on getting stronger over the last 2 years. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining. But he had some quotes to Jeff Grammer, who's going to join us at 9 o'clock this morning. Jeff's done a really good job, his 5-question series with the new recruits, the additions to Lobo basketball. One of the things that stood out to me as when you haven't been able to really see the players a lot, you can go back and look at some of the high school film and see some of the highlight reels. But you're thinking, all right, 7'1", what's his style going to be? Eric Olin, we know what he's going to do. He wants length on the perimeter, pressure defense, turn you over, and the ability to stretch the floor and shoot threes. So JT Rock, in his response to Jeff Grammer asking about his style of play, his game, he said, quote, "A player I try to model my game after is Dirk Nowitzki. I think the way that he was able to utilize his positional size and be multi-dimensional using his shooting touch in the mid-range and from three-point range to make himself hard to guard is something that I definitely try to emulate in my own game." And then you hear that and it goes, okay, that makes sense.
He's a stretch 5.
What Eric Olin is looking for.
More shooting.
For 1 through 5.
We love it.
The ability to stretch the floor. And then you add in the fact, all right, the dude's 7'1", working on his body, so he can be a defensive presence, a shot blocker at the rim. I am very intrigued.
I'm going to call him Rock Nation.
Rock Nation.
Rock Nation. That's going to be... That's my nickname.
And so you hear him talk about it. Now that's, of course, the pinnacle he's chasing. He's a Dirk Nowitzki guy.
Yeah.
But, okay, so you see, all right, he has some touch. He has some skill with the basketball.
Yeah.
And I could see that is, if you're a skinny high school kid, yeah, you're 7'1", you're probably able to dominate the competition, but maybe you're not ready to bang inside.
Yeah.
And thus, you're working on the handles, the touch, stretching the floor some. Then you hit that D1 weight room. You start getting your man muscle on.
Helps you stay healthy, too. Like, why would I go in there in the paint in high school if I'm trying to stay healthy and I can just stay out here working my shot?
That is a very intriguing foundation right there. Get stronger. You guys got some touch. Wants to stretch the floor, and it really fits into what Eric Olin wants to do. In the first year Lobo coach, talk about, oh, what's your style going to be? You're going to be adaptable. Well, he doesn't have to be adaptable at this point because he's picking every player for this year's roster.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at these guys and go, all right, this skill set fits what I want to do. This explosiveness that we've seen, whether it's the 5'10 guard from Arizona, Rad Tinetti, who's an explosive guard, getting up and down, effortless in transition, throwing it down. The highlights of Kevin Patton, the 6'8", transfer forward from USC, the explosiveness there. And then, Antonio Chol is going to be a difference maker offensively, what he was able to do. He started his career at Rutgers, played at Garden City Community College, big field goal percentage, three-point guy. And so you're seeing the pieces laid out, the foundation for Lobo basketball. I think it's super intriguing. Is it one that they're going to be able to step into the expectations that have been set for Lobo basketball? And you're like, oh, boom, conference contender, conference champion. Can't say that right away. You need to see this team on the floor. It's an entire new roster, an entire new coaching staff.
Yep.
But can you see a path to competitiveness with this roster?
Yeah.
You can. Now, again, as we were discussing yesterday, I appreciate the text line when we got in the show. We're going, hey, check out the Twitter. They got a center in. Boom. Then the next thing you're looking at is an experienced point guard to run the show. You're going to add try to add, of course, another center, another forward, get some depth inside. But again, these are the most expensive pieces at this point in time in the transfer portal, is good point guards and good centers. And so you got a center with upside in JT Rock. You got young guards in the backcourt. And now you try to solidify that with some experience, which I know I was also pointed out by Grammer. There's some players coming in this weekend. And again, the process is ongoing. There's 2,499 players in the transfer portal. Now, all of those players eligible. I don't know if that's factoring in the seniors with no eligibility or not. But that is a lot of dudes that are still going on visits. That's a lot of conversations that's still happening between collectives and agents.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I mean, you look at the roster, and the more you like, the way the roster is coming together, not only do you want more players because it benefits your team, because you never know, you can find a diamond in the rough, or you could be another big-time transfer, a big-time sign that you can get. But it keeps these players that we see, it's going to keep them on edge. It's going to, up the competition in practice. Iron sharpens iron. So the more players you get, especially if you can get some more good ones, it's going to make the players that we already have signed even better as well going into the season.
505-246-0610. How you feeling, Lobo fan, about the roster so far? It's taking shape. You got some exciting young players, some intriguing transfers coming in. What do you think what Eric Olin and company has been able to do so far, knowing that there's still some pieces to fall into place? Talk with Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, about all this and the transfer portal market coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. Looking at, the text line from yesterday, people talking about the excitement from landing a 7-foot center. Dayton Albury, the transfer guard from Utah State. I know there's been some noise over the last week or two about a potential connection to the University of New Mexico. That's a player with experience to watch out for when his decision comes down. And those inter-conference transfers are really fascinating to me. Do want to talk about that. Also, of course, it's vacation, folks. Jeff is on vacation. People act like when Jeff isn't here, like there's some sinister thing, like they're stuck with us. Like, he's on vacation, man. Just letting a dude enjoy his time off. Not going to announce to the entire world all the time that he's not in town. But he's taking some time away. Rightfully so. The man is busy. The man does a great job. And he's on vacation. So don't you worry. You can tune back in next Monday when Jeff is back for your regularly scheduled program. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info,
please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
So roughly 45% of players on rosters last season entered the transfer portal. This year on the men's side, when it comes to women's basketball, that 1,468 players enter the portal, about 29% of players on rosters from last season. And you go to when the portal era really kicked off, 2019, for all this, and there was 957 transfers that year. And so you go 957 to 2499 on the men's side. That's a 161% increase in the portal era. But it is what it is. And this is how we discuss it. It's how we're going to have to handle things until they really iron out what they want college athletics to look like moving forward. There's more revenue coming, just in this case, from the universities to the athletes once they finalize the House settlement. Changes to the rules across the board. But what does that mean? 8 o'clock, we're going to dive into what's going on at Arkansas. And it's not anything new, but it's not something that's been talked about a lot. It's not something that's been high profile. And that is that in some of these name, image, and likeness deals, collectives have put buyouts in there for players. But we just haven't heard about it. We just haven't heard schools and or collectives pushing to get money back. But now, with what we're seeing, just the gigantic influx of players in the transfer portal, especially when it comes to football and players getting NIL money for spring and then transferring before even playing a game for a school, that is where we're going to see more stories about collectives saying, hey, this is a contract. Yeah, we're not in bargaining, employment, etc., but you signed this name, image, and likeness deal, and this is what is in it. So we'll dive into that at 8 because it's an expanded conversation. And is that something that's going to help shape how things will work moving forward when schools come into this when it comes to revenue sharing? JJ Bucks A. Johnson with you this morning. 505-246-0610. Lobos added a 7'1" center via, Iowa State committed on social media, and of course, it's going to take some time, dot the I's, cross the T's to make it official, the release from the University of New Mexico. But we see the foundation, the players that have been added for Eric Owen in year one. Taking your thoughts on what you think about this roster so far. And then when it comes to the transfer portal, looking at stuff from women's basketball, University of New Mexico only had 5 players enter the transfer portal this offseason for Coach Bradbury's team. I know they're very excited about the class that they're able to sign, which features 3 freshmen and a JUCO transfer, and bringing them back with some intriguing pieces with Calissa Craig, who had a redshirt last year, but the 6'3" transfer from Cincinnati is set to return. Alyssa Hargrove got an extra year of eligibility due to some medical issues she had her sophomore season when she settled in to a really solid point guard, someone that never played point guard but was running the show. And then you also bring back Joanna Magalhaes, who is an all-conference freshman selection. Nyla Padilla off the bench, another freshman player. So Lobos feel good about what they're bringing back. In fact, only lost 5 players to the transfer portal, and one of them that was a bummer that they were hoping to keep around was Paris Laro, who when she had confidence early in a game, she was the second best shooter on that team behind Vianney Cumber. But you're looking at the transfer portal on the women's side, and one of the things that it's interesting, and you see it across the board, but it's the in-conference transfers. Lobos had one last year when Amaya Moreland transferred from San Jose State to New Mexico. You see it's not at a high rate, but I do think it's a really interesting one when you know those players so well, just in terms of the film, watching them, scouting, getting ready for them 2 to 3 times a season. I think it was like 2 years ago. I forget who I was talking to, but I was talking about roster building and transfer portals. And I'm sitting there, I was talking with this person. I'm like, I wonder how many coaches in conference are going to attack players at the bottom of the league. Are going to be like, man, this is a really good player in a bad team, and we need to get them in the portal. And we see it. It's out there, but it's fascinating mix to this now.
Mm-hmm.
That, at times it was when you transferred, you couldn't transfer in your conference, right? You had to sit out, but then you also had to go outside your conference. Now you have these stories of players transferring in the conference. I look at Fresno State, who lost their entire roster almost because their coach stepped down. And Jamie White steps down at Fresno State, and then the entire team goes into transfer portal. Some players you expected. Mia Jacobs, that was at the highest ceiling of anyone in the Mountain West last year. The 6'2", 4 just wasn't as consistent. Couldn't beat out Allison Fertig, who was the conference player of the year. It was just dominant across the board. But she goes to Oregon. But then you look at Mariah Elohim, their shooter, goes to UNLV. Their forward, Maria Constantinidou, goes to San Diego State. So it's fascinating. And then Nevada had a player transfer to San Diego State. This is those little things amongst all the conversation when it comes to the transfer portal of, the in-conference moves, and then just coaches looking over their shoulder, looking at the other coaches, when are you recruiting these players? It's just the world we are in. And speaking of that world, players paying money back. Has it been happening? Is it going to be a thing? What are we talking about? We'll dive into that next here on The Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit
FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
Oh, you get one of us today. Sorry about that. Jeff Symbieta on vacation, man. He's relaxing. He's taking some time away. It's okay. We might be a little bit rocky. A couple of the trains might be off the rails. Keep it going. God's day here at least. He knows what he's doing. Got the takes. He's got takes for days.
Gee, thanks.
We got you covered. The JJ Bucks, AJ Johnson with you, Adrian Holder down on ProView Networks. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Talking hoops. Lakers response last night. Lou Lobo in town. Center inside 7'1". But name, image, and likeness always going to be the topic of conversation when it comes to recruiting players to transfer portal, transfers, etc. It all comes back down to those name, image, and likeness deals that players are chasing. And we're going to see this, I think, pick up more steam now after spring football. Because one thing with basketball, the season's over, you've played, you hit the portal, you figure that. But it's the spring football where this is going to pick up a lot more momentum because some of these players didn't play for their team. They came in, practiced in the spring, and then they bounced. Well, did they take an NIL deal? Did they get money in the spring before even playing a regular season football game for the team? Well, that's what's going on at Arkansas. So, you know, Nico Iamaleava.
Yep.
Well, we discussed his story. Right? Leaving Tennessee, trying to hold out there, saying, I want $4 million. Tennessee's like, no, you're good. You signed a name, image, and likeness deal for $2 million. And he hits portal, ends up at UCLA, might have gotten less money from all reports. Okay, it's the business side of it. You want to play that game? Those things are going to happen. Well, his brother, Madden, entered the transfer portal.
Wonder where that name came from.
Mm-hmm. And joined him at UCLA. Madden is a quarterback. And he was at Arkansas. Hit the portal. Goes, joins his brother at UCLA. Well, Arkansas was like, that's cool and all. However, we have buyouts in our NIL deals. Like, what? They do. And it's something we've been discussing about what could change. And was there, quote unquote, going to be any penalties for players? Because we have this discussion and people talk about coaches leaving and say, well, coaches can leave whenever they want. And then people will point out, yeah, they do have contracts and there's buyouts to it. And something is usually going back to the school. well, I didn't know this, but collectives have been inserting those clauses into their name, image, and likeness deals. And we just haven't heard a lot about it. Now, is it because they've been successful in getting some of that money back and then the players move on to their next destination? Or has it been they just really don't want to dive into those waters, don't want to dive and get those messy headlines? I was reading the story this morning on CBS Sports about what's going on in Arkansas. And after Madden joined his brother Nico at UCLA, where the Arkansas Athletic Director Hunter Yurachek didn't hold back. He said, quote, "I've spoken with the leadership team at Arkansas Edge," which is their collective, "and expressed my support in their pursuit to enforce their rights under any agreement violated by our student athletes moving forward. We appreciate Edge investment in our student athletes and acknowledge the enforcement of these agreements is vital in our new world of college athletics. We look forward to continued dialogue with all parties involved resolving these matters." And that goes directly to, they put buyout clauses into their NIL deals at Arkansas. So multiple sources talking with CBS Sports about this said that a lot of teams did not want to necessarily pursue this at a high level, for fear of the backlash and, oh, that looks terrible, now you're trying to get the money back. Well, they're not living up to their end of the deal, which is showing up and playing regular season games. I don't have a problem with this right now. You signed that name, image, and likeness deal. You knew, okay, this is in that contract that was given to you for a name, image, and likeness. And so what does that mean? Well, contracts at Arkansas commonly include language requiring players to reimburse 50% of the money remaining on their deal should they leave for another school. And that was according to documents reviewed by CBS Sports. See, I don't have a problem with this. If we really don't have any guidelines or anything to work with, and the collective is saying, okay, we have a deal for you, but you transfer, we're going to want X amount back. Like, we give you $600,000 for however long. Some of these deals are more than 1 year. Then we are going to want, quote unquote, X amount of money back in a buyout. If you don't like that, you don't have to sign the deal. But until there's a baseline across the board, each of these stories is going to have to be addressed or attacked individually by collectives and whatever lawyers are going to get involved with the language in these name, image, and likeness contracts. But I thought it was fascinating because this is something that we've talked about.
Yeah.
We've bounced back and forth. Okay, what does the future look like? How do you get on the same page?
And I like this. I think what they could do to narrow it down even more and kind of like forcibly funnel it into being positive is kind of something else I think I mentioned before when we talked about it, is like, so if someone signs a contract that includes a buyout, like say they agree, okay, because I'm confident I'll be here through the duration of this contract, I'll go ahead and sign, this version of a contract that says I have to, pay back. They should be eligible or allowed to get paid more so than someone that's like, I don't know how long I'll be here, so I'll just, I don't want to, put on paper that I'll pay for the buyout. Like, I don't want to pay a buyout to leave because I think I may leave. I think if you then give the players who do sign that buyout version of a contract, because they do plan on being at the college longer, give them some sort of incentive, more so than just.
Exactly. I'm with it's to me, for this to work moving forward. And you said, you're like, what's the structure? Well, there has to be something that's collectively bargained. And I know I keep going back to that, but until these student athletes feel like they have a say in the process, any rules that are brought down are going to be challenged. And while you open the door, you have the ability to transfer, you have the ability to make money. It's still a messy market with situations like this because there's no, okay, this is the way it works across the board. And I do think that fan bases, they wouldn't be mad at these schools. The people who get mad at these conversations, the biggest talking heads in sport that don't think college athletic matters to communities. They just look at the very end, and they're either watching the Final Four or the college football national championship game and go, well, those are the ratings. Those are what I'm talking about. Okay. But there's a trickle down effect to communities.
Yeah.
And it matters. And the people that scream the most about whatever, this is a great system, let them do whatever they want, don't understand the fandom and the level of commitment that these colleges have. And that's the people that are screaming. That's where the negative backlash comes, going, oh, of course you're hurting the student athletes again. That's all you've done. That's all you do is hurt student athletes. No, like, the negative backlash to this comes from just the biggest talking heads that don't realize that there is a legit connection to college athletics in so many communities around this country.
Yeah, and you know what it does, you know, what I can say is because this is a situation we're dealing with, you try to look at the positives. One positive is I think it does kind of force the fans to be attached to the team, to the school, although like naturally you want to root for the players that you've seen, you know, when you're nervous and you want to win a game bad, and if a player made a game-winning play, like that player has something special with you. You know, everyone has their own separate reasons to why they have their favorite players. So naturally, you're going to attract to some players, and I think it's impossible to ask people to be fans of a team and not get attached to the players.
Yeah, it's heck. Look at the Mavericks, right? Luka Doncic was torn away from them, but when you have a player, you want to root for them 3 or 4 years. Now that's out the window. But what I'm referring to in this type of situation, I don't think there would be a lot of negative backlash if you acknowledge, hey, we signed NIL deals with players, but then there's also something that says, all right, you want to leave, then X amount of money has to come back, or you don't get your full check. I don't think there'd be a lot of negative publicity to that from the fan bases specifically, because I'm reading that story this morning on Arkansas, and I got to believe that their fan base isn't upset that their collective is trying to enforce a deal that they signed with someone that's trying to get some money back. The only people that would be upset, that'd be negative headlines, like I said, are the talking heads at the highest level that don't realize that there's a pretty good connection with colleges and their fan bases. And stuff like this matters to fans.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing that makes you more salty in any aspect. You know, you have a favorite player, favorite anything. If they just leave, it's like, oh, you just leave and there's no repercussion. Like, you just get to just go off and, you know, nothing happens. I think if you know, a fan base knows a player had to pay, not necessarily a penalty. I guess you don't want to look at it as a penalty.
Yeah, and I would almost want to see, with revenue sharing coming in, and us at least having an understanding of the commitment level from each conference. You know, what money they're able to put back in. Not necessarily does it have to be on the player, but then these buyouts paid from universities just like coaches. Like, to take the step in that direction.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like the money coming from collective / university of buyouts. But until we get to that point, these are the stories we're looking at, where it's student athlete versus a collective, as opposed to, okay, I'm a student athlete that wants to transfer, you know, from the University of New Mexico to Texas Tech. Well, now Texas Tech then has to handle that buyout just like they would a coach. Like, to me, that would be a better system moving forward, instead of having this back and forth between an agent and a student athlete and the collective. That's a step we need to get to.
Yeah, and then also what is kind of scary, you know, to dig even a level deeper is, you know, I just imagine, you know, you're being a player and you sign this NIL deal, and this is what usually causes a player to want to leave a lot of times anyways. Like, say you disagree with the coach about something, or you're not getting along with the coach. And then say that coach maybe knows, okay, well, if he wants to leave, he's going to have to pay this or pay that. So then it may, you know, you may get some dirty situations and then a lawsuit that's going to then open up a whole nother canal.
I'm right there with you, man, because not all transfers are created equally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a reason Ibrahim Saka was the last dude to leave Louisville basketball.
Yeah.
And he might not have wanted to leave. But he's in the transfer portal. And so it's situations like that where it's not all created equally. So does every student athlete then at that point in time, you know, is that where the NIL collective's like going, okay, man, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's why it needs to be something that makes sense across the board, that it protects the student athlete and the school moving forward. So the change to the system is, all right, you're getting money, you're getting revenue, here's your contract, and here's percentage of said buyout coming from the university or collective that you're going to. Like, to me, that's doesn't fix everything, but it seems like a cleaner system
moving
forward. And then it's opposed to having stories like this where this is all you can do. If you're a collective, you sign a player to a deal, he bounces, you have wording in that contract. Well, now it's on that player and his agent and whatever representation they have to battle. And that's just not what you want, man. It's already messy enough, players going into the portal, this or that, and then to have to haggle about everything, then to have to go back, potentially have, lawyers involved or take it to court. No, it needs to be a cleaner system. And so when we're asking, what is it going to look like? What do you need to do? Well, that's a step you need to take. Again, you have to have student athletes on board with the decisions that are made by the NCAA or whoever is in charge. Understanding that moving forward, we have to start separating the rules for basketball and football and Olympic sports because all things aren't created equally. And then if we want to get into, okay, you can have movement, but if there's contracts involved, buyouts, you want to be like a coach, you want to be like a professional player, that we see movement at the highest levels, and there's buyouts involved, okay, this is where the money's coming from, as opposed to putting it directly on a student athlete. That seems like a at least more uniform system
It keeps it
than what we're having right now.
Keeps it fair, keeps it balanced, and it also, it allows some flexibility.
You still have the movement.
It's just make sure it gets done and everyone's happy, and that's how you avoid lawsuits.
505-246-0610. What do you want to see moving forward? The portal is here. Name, image, likeness is here. Now it's changing with revenue sharing coming from the universities. So what's a system you would like to see when it comes to how these deals are managed and, learning that, hey, there actually has been buyouts put in contracts by collectives and those collectives then trying to enforce it. Is that a negative storyline to me? It's not. It's just business. You want your money? Well, this is the business that you're in. It's the opening drive here on the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, me and my my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion.
Could look like a house settlement being finalized, we expect the next couple months, with revenue coming directly from the universities. What the student athletes should want from their side to have a good working relationship with the programs and universities moving forward with Jeff Grammer. At 9 o'clock, we'll also dive into the Lobos roster, as Jeff has been doing a good series of 5 questions with the new commits, holding it down in the offseason, because guess what? There's no offseason in college athletics anymore. It's 24/7, 365 with the transfer portal, which is officially closed when you have almost 2,500 players in the portal. There's a lot of work still to do. So Grammer is going to join us at 9 o'clock this morning. It's the opening drive here on The Sports Animal. It's JJ Bucks, A. Johnson with you this morning. Adrian holding it down on ProView Networks. NFL Draft is tomorrow night, round 1. Gets us going. Number 1 overall pick is going to be the Tennessee Titans. And who? Well, they let it be known yesterday, not breaking any news, that they're not moving. They're taking a player at 1. They're not trading down. They're not fielding phone calls like the Cleveland Browns or New York Giants. They're locked in at 1. It feels like it's going to be Cam Ward. But when you look at the Browns and Giants, they need a quarterback, but doesn't feel like they want to be in the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes. And that is fascinating to me. Now, Shedeur is the number 2 quarterback in this class. But then you talk to people and they're saying, well, maybe he would have been 7 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have been in the mix behind those top 3. I think that it's no doubt, that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, they solidified themselves over everyone else. I think Drake May, it's a different conversation when you have a year of NFL play, because it's easy to debate it after the fact of, should you have been a Bo Nix or Michael Penix over Drake May?
Yeah.
But once we got to that part, we saw Penix, McCarthy, and Nix go, I do think Shedeur would have been right there with those guys. But what's fascinating to me is there's quarterback needy teams. Now, is this all just a play? Well, maybe Shedeur's not graded out as an elite prospect at this moment in time. That's understandable. But when you have a need at quarterback, it pushes some of these guys up the draft board. And being good at quarterback is more important than necessarily being great at corner or great at receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Because the quarterback is going to take you a step forward. Yes, team game, 52-man roster. It's understandable. But I am really fascinated with the fact that Shedeur Sanders, across the board, some people say Jackson Dart could be the second quarterback selected. Okay. But he's a top 3 quarterback in the draft. There's teams that need quarterbacks. And it's not crazy to listen to NFL insiders discuss the fact that, the dude could go 3 or in the second round.
Yeah, I think the reason and kind of what we're seeing is, yes, Bo Nix and guys like, he did go early, not necessarily early, but he went first round, right?
12th pick, yeah.
So, but he also was the, 4th quarterback taken?
Nix was 6th.
The 6th quarterback taken. So, I think what you're seeing is teams are looking at it saying, okay, yes, Nix was picked early in the draft, but also he was the 6th picked quarterback. So, I think what you're seeing is the depth. They don't believe they think there's a bigger gap between Cam Ward and the rest of the crew, like other outside of Shedeur, than there is Shedeur to the rest of the crew, if that makes sense. So I think they think Shedeur is closer to the group of the Jackson Darts, the Milrose, or any of the other quarterbacks. So I think that the reason why a team like Cleveland is going to pass on him is because they're like, we're going to get a great receiver and we'll go get a good quarterback in the second round. We can get a good quarterback in the third round.
If they feel that, we need to develop one of these guys, then, take a Travis Hunter, which gives you 2 shots at finding a good player on either side of the football.
Exactly.
Versus what you might create is just a good quarterback prospect, which I think the way you laid it out is what we're probably going to see happen. As Shedeur, right, it looks like it's 3.69. Dang, he's fine. But 3.69, well, what is that? It's Giants, Raiders, Saints.
Mm-hmm. ...
21. Would the Steelers pull the trigger there? All quarterback needy teams.
I mean, I can't see how they wouldn't.
Like, if you're sitting there at 21 and you've been trying to find a guy for a while, like the last first round pick, you took Kenny Pickett at 20, and he wasn't that dude.
Mm-hmm. So if Shedeur goes 21st, do you think that would still play into the scenario of of 2 and over 2.5 quarterbacks? Or do you think that would mean that Jackson Dart maybe got picked before him? Or do you think it'd just be one quarterback taken in the first 21 picks? Which I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah, it happened just when Kenny Pickett drafted.
Really?
He was the only quarterback taken in the first 20. And then it wasn't until like the third round until the second quarterback was selected, and it was kid from Liberty. But Tennessee took him. I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, me too. That's maybe for a reason. No shots thrown.
But that was one of those drafts where...
Very recent, actually.
Yeah.
It's crazy in the passing league. It just had to have been a bad draft for quarterbacks.
It obviously was. When Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback. It was the Steelers in the 20s. But I think when you hear Adam Schefter keep talking about more quarterbacks are going to go in the top 8 picks of the second round than the entire first round, it's what you just laid out. It's like there's a belief in Cam Ward. The Titans are all in. He is going to be the pick at number 1. And then they feel, Shedeur isn't that far ahead of a Jackson Dart or developing a Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Guys in that.
To the point where it's like, yeah, we'll wait. By the way, I'm looking at this 2022 draft. This has got to be one of the worst drafts ever. Literally got to be one of the worst drafts ever. Travon Walker, I don't know if he's really made a big impact. He was first. You got Hutchinson, of course, but he's carrying the whole entire draft. Jordan Davis, I guess. Wow. Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't remember this draft too much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a pretty bad lineup.
Kenny Pickett goes 20. Well, that's not a bad draft.
You don't think so?
Adrian Hutchinson. Stingley is top cornerback for the Texans. Sauce Gardner was defensive rookie of the year. He was the 4th overall.
The Ahmad threw me off there. Okay, I didn't realize.
Yeah. So Sauce Gardner was 4.
Okay, then
Drake London 8, Garrett Wilson 10. Got Chris Olave. Now it wasn't a superstar draft.
Like with the biggest
name
top
flight cornerback. Adrian Hutchinson is legit.
Yeah.
But this is what this draft is feeling like tomorrow.
You think so?
Is similar to this. People don't feel like it's going to be a wow draft just because there's not that quarterback or wide receiver. Those are the flashy positions. But they're going to be dudes that make a difference. There's going to be dudes that help solidify your franchise. And we're going to dive into that coming up next of why this might not be the super quarterback heavy draft, but why it's still ridiculously important to get it right, because that's where the foundation of your football team comes from, is drafted and undrafted free agents. We'll hit that next here on the Sports Animal.
If your trees haven't bloomed or you've got
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Krosky-Miller here. And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space. And you can be part of it.
You make my heart better. Try this shit better than all my intentions. Like make sure that you got my attention. CEO, baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
I was born in New Mexico. I grew up on these streets. I got in trouble here, and I fought my way back in boot camp. I love New Mexico, especially the people. Now I'm using my training, tenacity, and energy to fight for you. I'm Adam Oki, lawyer, fighter, and New Mexican. I was a local athlete here in New Mexico, so I'm proud to support your local athletes.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
These days, it's important to know people and businesses you can trust. There's a lot of places where you can buy a vehicle, but there's only a few local dealerships where you'll find honest people who have your best interests in mind. And Fiesta Kia is one of them. We've been helping our neighbors save money and drive dependable cars for years, and we'd love to help you. With new Kias arriving daily, you'll love our selection and the peace of mind you'll get driving a Kia from Fiesta. So stop by and see us today at Fiesta Kia on Lomas, or just start driving now at fiestakia.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on.
Easy to go back and look. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you grade something. Not necessarily in the moment, but 2-3 years down the line. And we're bringing up the 2022 NFL Draft, where the first quarterback wasn't selected until Kenny Pickett at 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you feel, oh, was that a swing and a miss? Was it a bad draft class? Well, you got Aiden Hutchinson go number 2 overall. 3 and 4th picks were cornerbacks, but Derek Stingley Jr., CB1 for the Texans. Sauce Gardner was the defensive rookie of the year. And by the way, the Jets backed that up with the 4th pick of the second round and got Breece Hall. And then you look at, okay, well, there might not be superstars. Well, then I look at the first round of that draft and I go, all right, what did Kansas City do? They've won some Super Bowls over the last few years. They took Trent McDuffie at 21 and George Karlaftis at 30. Impactful players. Like, the draft matters. And even though there might be only 2 quarterbacks that go in the first round, there's going to be some big-time playmakers that are selected tomorrow through Saturday. It's opening drive here on The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you. Edward, all right, let's lay out the takes today. You got time. What's up, man? How you doing?
Thank you for being benevolent with your airtime. I appreciate it. Hey, yesterday I called with the take, and then your guest was amazing with his stat on number of first-round quarterbacks that made the Hall of Fame.
Sheesh.
That was a great matriculation and extrapolation of data, which I appreciate. He was and by the way, he agreed with me on the Milton take. By the way, the draft is critically important. I've seen the greatest player in the history of the NFL get drafted number 199 in round 6. after several of the quarterbacks were taken ahead of him. I also saw a 5'10" quarterback out of Kent State get drafted in the 7th round and win a Super Bowl MVP in Julian Edelman. So it does matter, and you do get great picks. Here's my point, and Isaiah, by the way, the show's been great this week. I never want to be hot take guy and just drop a hammer and not give you explanation. Now, the Dak Prescott, when I said if he gets hurt this year or for whatever reason misses time, I don't think he's going to see the field again. I really believe that. I think this is going to be his last year as a starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, even though he's in year 2 of a 4-year deal. Here's why. The league is quickly evolving into an extension of college football, RPO. The quarterback has to make plays with his legs. Case in point, the last 4 MVPs, as we navigated out of the conventional pocket quarterback where Brady and Rodgers were winning MVPs, Jackson won a few, Mahomes has won a few, and Josh Allen has won one last year. The league's evolving to where if you don't have an individual that can make plays with his legs, you don't have a shot. And that's not Dak Prescott.
Anymore.
Now, one would argue 2 years ago he finished number 2 in MVP voting. By the way, that year, Purdy had him be in every quarterback statistical category with the exception of touchdown passes. Every other quarterback beat Brock Purdy, 6th round, last player picked in the draft. Now, that might be a function of having a better supporting cast and all that. Those are all variables. But the other thing is everybody got hurt that year. Burrow got hurt. Everybody got hurt that year, and the Bills fired their offensive coordinator 2/3 of the way through the season. So it kind of was an off data point, right? I believe that if the goal of your franchise is to put yourself in the best position to compete for a Super Bowl, and you have to win your division, right? I get that's where it starts. I think that goal is moving further away from Dallas Cowboys fans and their organization and closer to that goal. Case in point, succinctly stated, isn't working. What you're doing isn't working, and they have to make changes. I would take the best available player in the draft with their first pick, or make moves, and I would draft a quarterback. Or, I know JJ doesn't like this, tank for Manning, right? And that may not be the answer. Tank, and I agree with him. But you almost have to just reset the whole organization, because otherwise you're stuck in quarterback purgatory and you're stuck in mediocrity. The other point, and I'll leave with this, is they'll say, well, they won 12 games, 3. Oh, and those are great, right? I could name the number of really solid wins on one hand. I don't had monumental wins. And I look at the Vikings from last year. I think they won 13 or 14 games. They moved off their quarterback, and they have a great roster. So I just think you have to make drastic changes if what you're doing isn't working. I'll let you expand, and I appreciate the time, JJ and Isaiah. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, Edward. So here's
bomb drop. I wish I had a bomb hotkey over here.
So here's my thing on the tanking for a quarterback, right? Is you bring up Minnesota, they didn't have to tank for a quarterback. They built a roster and then were able to still get a quarterback. And that's where I come down is if you're bad, it's harder to climb out of that. Because let's look at, the quarterback selected number 1 overall recently. Trevor Lawrence. Won a playoff game, but he hasn't magically changed that franchise. Joe Burrow was that dude back in 2020. But 2019, it was Kyler Murray. They're still struggling to get that ship right. Baker Mayfield back in Cleveland, but that's more of an organizational thing. So my thing when it comes to tanking is you don't want to put your entire franchise behind just to get the number 1 overall pick, because that track record of number 1 overall picks isn't quite the magic elixir as it's painted out to be. Now, when you look at teams that have moved off quarterbacks, teams that have been successful, now it's still, are we talking about getting a guy in the top 10? Sure. But I think where I'm with Edward is being maybe proactive if at the quarterback position of, all right, maybe the time is just up. The time's just up with Dak Prescott, which could be, as opposed to being bad, and then that hole is harder to get out of when you're a bad franchise. The number 1 overall pick isn't going to save you, But if you're a good franchise, at least have enough of a foundation.
Yeah.
What did Kansas City do? They took Mahomes at 12 when they had Alex Smith and they were winning games.
The best version you'll get is maybe that with the Texans when they took C.J. Stroud. But
well, we've seen it. We've seen it at a high level the last 2 seasons, which have skewed the talk with C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels. Absolute game changers at the franchise position. That's what you're chasing. I understand that. But I'm also not on board of thinking that you had to have an entire franchise from top to bottom and secretly want to suck, because how'd that work out for the Dolphins? And when their owner was like, maybe we should lose games, and Brian Flores put that out there, and then you have a mess.
Yeah, no, Edward. So I think where I agree with you, number one, is it doesn't really necessarily hurt my heart too much to assume that Dak Prescott could have somebody else come in and fill in for him. But as far as the Brock Purdy point, I do want to point out that Dak had a better QB rating than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy had a better QB rating, but Dak had a better completion percentage, and not only with the touchdowns, but his ratio touchdown to interception versus the season beforehand when he led the league in interceptions. So I think that drastic drop down is why Dak got viewed so highly. But yeah, I mean, you're right. He's got a lot of money going to him. If Joe Milton was to come in and perform, then I think that, yes, that could be.
I think that in some of these cases, like, it's not that Dak is a bad quarterback. Sometimes things just run their course. And maybe that's where we're at with the Dallas Cowboys. We got to hit this break. Yeah. We'll get back to the phones right after this here on The Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride barbecue chicken and ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
The Rockets respond after falling on their face in the first half in Game 1. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock, have the number 1 overall pick. What is the rest of the draft going to look like? Got this on the text line. It says, if my Steelers take Shedeur, none of you will ever hear from me again. I want off the Steelers circus train. Now, my question to that would be,
who else is going to be better?
Yes, but my question to that would be, do you just feel he's not a good quarterback, or do you think it's a circus, potentially because of just Dion and the noise that people assume is just always going to be there with Shedeur?
Well, it's got to be he doesn't think he's that good, because if he thought he was that good, then I don't think anybody would really mind the circus. Like, you know, with quarterback, that's a whole big thing. And that's why Edward had so much to say. By the way, shout out Edward for the phone call. But yeah, no, Shedeur, I still, in my heart, I still have him first. I still have him the number 1 quarterback. Maybe it's just what I prefer in a quarterback.
Gets the rose.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I still, Edward also kind of commented on being able to run around. I still like pocket passers.
You have to win in the pocket, but you have to
be able
pocket mobility,
but like
more so than ever before.
But if your football IQ is at like an all-time level, you'll always have a plan A, B, C, D, so that and you can go through all of that within 3 to 4 or 5 seconds before you get hit. Now you need somewhat of a line. Brady had a line. Manning had a line. They couldn't just sit in that
pocket.
pocket.
Every quarterback needs time to throw, and you still have to win in the pocket. But we're seeing a different level of quarterback athleticism, which is a new era pocket passer. That's what we're seeing. Terry, you're on the opening drive. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good morning, JJ. Good morning, Isaiah. So I'm going back to your early talks about two-way contracts for the college players. I have no problem with them signing multiple years, but let's say the coach goes to the group and says, no, we don't want this player for the second year. Well, they have to give them money to go away. It's a two-way street on that. KU, a couple of guys they brought in, they definitely didn't want to have them stick around, and like Storrs off to Mississippi and all that, and I think they're happy to see them go. So you always have that. The fan base is always going to side with them and go, yeah, players should have to stay and everything, and that's fine and all that. But Yeah, and I have no problem with it if they honor it both ways. Now, the one where you earlier also in the week or last week talked about guys putting themselves in the portal with eligibility gone, seemed to be gone. And here's the NCAA, again, just dragging their heels whether they could do it or not, is they've talked about just changing to 5 years eligibility. You know, if you're going to do it, do it. If not, you're not. So a lot of these guys that put their name in their portal, well, all it did is file some paperwork, and if it doesn't change, you know, they just move on in life.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden the NCAA just decides, hey, you know, we've decided, we're going to 5-year eligibility, those guys can get on teams. So we'll have to see that way. I do the tanking as a Patriot. The other one besides Edgar, I just went when the Patriots won at the end of the season because they would have either been 1, 2, or 3. And so much more flexibility. That last win, don't remember that, lives a lifetime. But number 4, I don't see a lot of people wanting to trade up.
Terry, appreciate the thoughts there. We have to hit this break at the top of the hour. A lot to get into. We'll dive more into that transfer portal, the Lobo roster. Jeff Grammer, the Albuquerque Journal, joins us next right here on the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfafsa.org. That's nmfafsa.org.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavis, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no
FM and AM 610 KNML, the sports animal. Now it's the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
Well, the people have been asking, the show just doesn't feel the same. Where's Jeff? Well, we got a Jeff for you, so don't you worry. Jeff Graham, Albuquerque Journal, joining us this the opening drive. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson holding it down for you here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. Adrian on ProView Networks, Xfinity Channel 26, and of course streaming online. So to fill your need for Jeff, here's Jeff Grammer. Good morning, man. What's up?
I'm doing good, man. What's up with you guys?
Not much. So are you announcing any more 7-footers or recruiting news right now at this exact moment?
Well, I mean, here we go. No, I am not.
Well, it's been nice talking to you, Jeff. We will speak with you next week.
Pretty much all I'm good for this time of year. But I will tell you, last night the transfer portal closed, and now everything is fixed, right? Everything's back to normal in college basketball. So everything, we made it. Everything's good now.
2,499 players entered the transfer portal this season. That's a 161% increase over the 957 players in 2019 when this really all started to pick up. And I know the frustration, right, with the system and having to do things year to year. But in your conversations, really covering this in depth over the last few seasons that we're in it, that this is happening, really what is the sentiment you get from coaches, from athletes and fans, and then in trying to figure out where just everyone lands on college athletics right now?
I think fans are alone in that their frustration. Well, first of all, I think everyone's a little bit frustrated, coaches and fans included. Players, I don't know that they're frustrated necessarily, but I think fans are a little bit alone in the level of frustration they have. I think the coaches kind of understand and spend so much time with these players, on a personal level, rather than just seeing numbers on jerseys and stat sheets and stuff, that I actually think in an honest moment, an awful lot of these coaches are happy for the kids that they're getting this. That doesn't mean they like the way it's happening, that they like, I don't think anybody really likes the way things are happening right now. But I think a lot of these coaches are somewhat relieved that this finally has gotten to the point where we're no longer worried about the kids getting their piece of it. Not in men's college basketball and not in football. There's some other sports that still need to make some strides along those lines. But the frustration comes from I hate to always blame the NCAA, but the frustration comes from years of putting this off and kicking the can down the road. And once the courts got involved, like they have through several lawsuits now, it pretty much kind of all snowballed at once, right? And now we're in a situation where, people want salary caps. Well, you can't do salary caps if you're not going to call them employees. You can't limit earning potential if you're going to give them antitrust exemptions. Like, there's a lot of things going on that the NCAA could have incrementally probably tried to fix 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and pushed it all off as long as they can, and now we're kind of in a mess. And that's where we are. But I actually think the coaches, in an honest moment, would tell you they're kind of happy it's finally happening in some capacity. They just wish it wasn't happening the way it is.
With all that would be needed that you just addressed, and we've been talking about it for who knows how long. What's next? Everyone says there needs to be guardrails, but any guardrails that are put in place will be sued into oblivion, by anyone right now. So how do you get to that point where you essentially have to have a players union, right? The only way this stuff gets solved, where at least people are okay with rules that come down, are if they're on the same page to discuss those rules. So is there a process that they create, a student athlete union for football, for basketball, that, well, once you get into college, you just become a part of that union? I get it. There's so much trickle down effect in that, because I just don't see what rails or just what system makes sense moving forward without the student athletes having a voice at the table, because someone's going to be upset that, X, Y, and Z doesn't go their way. They take it to court and they lose that lawsuit. Because, I'm looking at the story this morning, and I think we're going to see more and more of this. Arkansas, right? They had a kid transfer, and they're like, oh, by the way, we put a buyout in your contract, and you need to pay money back to us. And I'm sitting there, well, this system would make a lot more sense if, buyouts, which coaches say, hey, we just can't move anywhere of buyouts, might be handled by said institution that player X is going to. What do you think of something like that?
Yeah, I think buyouts, first of all, there's nothing really, what Arkansas did is there's nothing preventing any collective, especially, in the previous couple of years where it was still not really overseen by the schools at all. There's nothing stopping any of these NIL contracts from having a buyout or from being backloaded, saying you have to still be on the roster after the portal closes, stuff like that. It's stuff that I know Kurt Roth and the 505 SVF here in Albuquerque sort of adjusted to last year, when the day before the transfer portal closed last year, JT Toppin left. I think instead of quarterly payments or whatever the payments were, and JT got one last payment before he left, they sort of said, okay, well, this is a pretty significant date. When the portal closes, you want him to still be here, so you put a significant amount of money after that fact, so you can't leave after that. Buyouts are the same thing. You can put buyouts in the contracts right now. There's nothing stopping anybody. Ultimately, I think what's going to happen, and this is what the NCAA has ultimately really been fighting for years, is they have to be classified as employees. They just do. There's student work study jobs and stuff like that. Students can work for the university in other capacities. At some point, I just think you have to make the students actual employees. I know that changes some tax situations, and I don't know how workers' comp works for athletes and all that kind of stuff, but once they become employees, then there's a whole lot more sort of enforceable actions that the university can take, including firing players, including holding them to contracts and stuff like that. But I think until then, you're just going to keep losing lawsuits after lawsuits, because you cannot really limit, as long as you have a monopoly on this world of college athletics, and the NCAA does, as long as you have that monopoly, you're not really ever going to be able to win a lawsuit that limits a player's earning potential at this level. So if you're not going to be able to go play pro, you can basically just go to court and say, they're stopping me from my earning potential right now as a college athlete, because I don't have another way to go. There's nowhere else for me to go but college athletics to play this sport and make money, and the NCAA is limiting it to me. So that's why I think you probably eventually have to make them employees and start attacking it from that front.
Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal, joining us on The Sports Animal this morning. And, looking at the portal era, and it's just the way it is, the turnover, and looking at updated rankings heading into next season, is scroll down, and I look at, a team like St. John's, and 4/5 of their starting lineup next year on a projected top 5 team is from the transfer portal. And it's like you're saying, the coaches wrapping your head around it, you have to attack it. This is just the way it is right now.
Not only that, I think if you look at there's some other teams. I know what UNM's going through isn't settled or easy to accept for a fan base. It's unsettling. It leads to anxiety, right? But it's happening to many schools. There are 44 schools that have had 10 or more players with eligibility remaining that entered the transfer portal. UNM's one of them. Baylor has an entire roster turnover just like UNM, and Baylor has a far more established program, right? They've been in national title games in recent years. They're a team that you wouldn't think would struggle in the NIL world. They have money. They have Texas money. But Baylor lost their entire roster, and they're rebuilding, and that wasn't with the coaching change. So this is happening to other schools too. It's not just UNM. And I do think that some schools have to now kind of figure out what their niche is going to be. Are you going to be a St. John's that's basically just going to go after transfers every year? And as Rick Pitino has said, they're not even going to bother recruiting high school kids anymore because they have to turn over ready-to-play rosters every single year and be competitive. But if you're in New Mexico, is your niche going to be, we're about to find out, but is your niche going to be non-Division I players that were Division II All-Americans, or maybe a junior college player like Antonio Chol that they've got a commitment from that was, ranked 5th in the country as a junior college player, and still recruiting a couple high school kids. I think that's where New Mexico right now is sort of trying to tackle this, see what the best of the rest you can get is, and go from there. Because if all you're trying to do is get the transfers that are 5-star guys and $1 million guys, you're not going to be able to outbid these major. You're not going to outbid St. John's. You're not going to outbid the Dukes of the world. So maybe you just attack it from a different front, which is sort of what Eric Olin has been doing. We don't know if it's going to work yet. We won't know until next season, right? But right now he's really filling a roster with, for the most part, non-traditional sort of Division I experienced players. It's risky, but we're about to find out. I will point this out. Last year they won 30 games, and they ranked 295th in Division I experience going into the season. So he did this a year ago. They were the most successful team. Actually, I would argue second most, because Illinois was actually ranked 300 and was an at-large team. But UC San Diego last year was the most successful team with very little Division I returning talent. And he's sort of already pieced together a team of players that he knows fits his system that haven't played at the Division I level before. And I think that's what he's doing now. And it does make some Lobo fans nervous with the players that are coming in, because there's not a whole lot of D1 experience here so far in the 8 players that the Lobos have picked up. But he's done it before, and he's succeeded at it before. So it's kind of a wait-and-see process now.
I know we do this every time, Jeff. You got one more segment in you? Because I want to dive into that Lobo roster. So on the other side, we'll hit some of the specifics of what Eric Orland has been able to do and how he's molding the recruits into the style he wants to have year one at the University of New Mexico. We continue with Jeff Grammer on the other side. It is the opening drive right here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert.
The transfer portal closed last night, but there's still so many players available, so many destinations for players to land at, negotiations ongoing, what's going to look like. The NBA draft process still going on. You have those players doing the NBA draft workouts, getting their feedback. Do they want to keep their name in the draft? Do they want to go back to college? So much to be determined, but the base for Lobo basketball, it's looking pretty good. It is very intriguing so far for Eric Olin as he heads into year one at the University of New Mexico. It's opening drive here on The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson. Continue our conversation with Jeff Grammer. And, one of the things that's interesting in this process over the last few years is, the in-conference transfers. And I brought this up a little bit earlier. I probably look at the women's transfer portal a lot more than other people around here. I go down and I look at, San Diego State lands a couple players from opponents in the conference. Like UNLV landed a player from Fresno State. What do you make of like the in-conference battles and then just, the situations where maybe a coach is looking over their shoulder, because those are the guys you are watching on film just a little bit more.
Yeah, I do like the ability for coaches to sort of in league play kind of see who I'm not saying fans like this or should like it, but I like the idea of like coaches kind of being able to really scout a player and go into the free agency market and get them. Again, that's what people don't like about this whole portal era. But I think it's pretty cool that coaches are building rosters at the college level now based on what they want and what they need, as opposed to just, look, there's still a handful of schools that can always just go get the highest rated player and take your chances on, having the best 5 players on the court is going to work, even if they don't fit together. But like what Eric Olin's doing, for example, he has a very specific system, and he is very meticulously and deliberately and in some fans' minds slowly picking and evaluating what players fit into that system and with each other very well. And I kind of like that. I like this. I like watching this process play out when a coach has a specific system. And look, obviously the Pitino era got the Lobos back on the map, right? But his system wasn't as built on I'm finding players to fit my system as it was, let's go get the best players we can. I mean, hence 3 guards that were 6'2" and shorter for the first 2 to 3 years of his tenure at UNM. They got 3 really good guards that were all short. And it wasn't about fitting into the system as much as it was, let's just go get the best players we can and then figure out what system to run. And it worked eventually. But it was at its best when they weren't short, right? When they actually did go fit some pieces to a system, like get a 6'9" wing and stuff like that. Well, Eric Olin's getting the opportunity from the start to do that with a 0-man roster. He's 100% staff and player turnover, gives him the chance from the start to just bring players in that fit what he wants to do. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know, what system is necessarily better. Sometimes people would argue, and you guys obviously are talking a lot about the draft, sometimes the best thing to do is just take the best player available and then figure out what to do with him. What Eric Olin is basically doing is taking his system and fitting players into it, as opposed to we'll get a good player and then figure out what to do with them.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a balance. As you just said, some of those best players are going to be off the board. I think Eric Olin and company, the recruiting is fine. I know that's a question you get all the time about, these UCSD guys are going to be able to play in the Mountain West. Yes. I think they are going to be able to. And it's plus, he has a collective with him. And that does get you in conversations. Even if you're told no by players, you're able to have different conversations. When New Mexico has a collective that's paying good contracts out at this moment in time, is going to get people to listen. But the specifics so far of this roster, we're seeing a lot of explosiveness. And then you said the shooting ability. Yesterday, JT Rock committed, the Iowa State transfer, redshirted, built some muscle, was behind an experienced backcourt. And a lot of these players, you have to go back to high school or you're just looking at a highlight film. But, the questions that you asked JT I thought were really good because he compared himself to Dirk Nowitzki. Now, that's the highest level of praise, right? But it kind of shows you that, it's a forward with versatility. What do you make of the first really center addition to this roster and how that fits in for Olin?
Well, I'm glad he answered that way because the way he did. If he would have told me something like, I want to be like old school Shaq, I would have said, well, the Lobos are in trouble. He's not that. At least we know now that if what he's saying and what I asked him about, why UNM, and part of his answer was Eric Olin and the staff showed me exactly how I'm going to fit into their system. And then when I asked him, well, what kind of player would you say you model your game after or you play like? And he's not saying he's Dirk Nowitzki, obviously. He's just saying, if you're looking at a player that everyone understands and knows his game, that's it. It's more of a face the basket, shoot over people kind of guy that can, spread it out a little bit. He can stretch the floor. But he also has some back to the basket game, I will say that. But it was refreshing to hear him pretty much be honest with, I would have hated to hear him say, look, I'm 7-1. I'm going to go bang. I'm going to go be down by the basket and just dominate because that's just not his game. And you can tell that Eric Olin and his staff targeted this guy specifically because he is a big that defensively can protect the rim a little bit, but offensively they're not going to expect him. And some Lobo fans are going to have to adjust to this. Eric Olin doesn't run a whole lot of back-to-the-basket, low-post kind of offense. When people say they want these 7-footers or these big power forwards that can, score like Morris Udeze did a couple years ago or like Nelly Jr. Joseph did the past couple years or even JT Toppin, that's just not what he does. He spreads the floor. He has 5 guys outside of the three-point line at times. He creates a whole bunch of space, and then he attacks the weakness. He attacks the space Guards, if he has one quick guard on the floor at all times, he did get a freshman out of Prescott, Arizona that's really good, Uriah Tenet, who is fast but really, really small. I'll tell you that they're still working on Dayton Albury, the point guard from Utah State, is still kind of in the mix. Maybe he ends up coming and transferring to to New Mexico. If he has a small, quick guard that can, if they're playing 5 out and a guard attacks the paint like that and has that much space to work with, that's when they're at their most dangerous. You have 4 shooters and 1 quick guard, and I think that's what he's trying to build right now. He has a whole bunch of shooters and slashers, and so far, like I said, I'm really interested to see how it works out because he is going very, very targeted with his recruiting, and it's going to be interesting.
Well, and also that's it's fascinating for expectations, right? It has to be a different level of expectation just because it's 100% new. But I could also see, the pressure ramping up a little bit, given the fact that he was able to pick every single piece he wants on this roster.
I would say it's going to be hard to build on the one hand, zero returning players, 0 returning staff. You kind of build in some temper your expectations a little bit there. But also, to your point, it's kind of hard to say there's any excuses if they don't succeed or have at least a little bit of success because he wasn't stuck with anybody that doesn't fit what he's doing, right? He wasn't trying to do any square pegs and round holes. He's been building this from the start exactly the way he wants it to fit. So yeah, it better work. Now, it's hard to go too extreme one way or the other because it is a complete turnover of the roster. So there's some middle ground there. I did say this last night, not everybody has to think they're going to win a championship like one person on social media was saying yesterday, but not everybody has to say they're going to be a bottom feeder, which is a phrase I saw yesterday from a knowledgeable Lobo fan, frankly. He knows his stuff. And he just says, I think this roster is a bottom feeder roster in the Mountain West, which blows my mind. Look, if you want to talk about the very bottom, we're talking Fresno State Air Force. This New Mexico team is not going to be that. They can be a middle of the pack team. They can be a little bit better than that if things work out well. And I think people have to quit going to two extremes. It's an 11-team league. They're not going to be at the bottom. They're probably not going to be competing for a championship in year one. There's no reason to think that the way everybody around this country, around college basketball, thought and respected of Eric Olin's system, to think that a guy who brings in his entire staff and builds the entire roster for his system is going to totally flop. I just don't see that happening. I see some success coming. I don't see them competing for a championship right away, but I would be shocked if they don't have some success in year one.
And I'd be shocked if there wasn't more stories coming from Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal. More players are going to announce. You got coverage nonstop. It never stops now, man. We're just in it 24/7, 365. And you do a great job as always, man. Appreciate the conversation. We'll read you. Albuquerque Journal. Of course, follow you at Jeff Grammer on the X and the Instagram. Always appreciate the time, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Jeff Grammer joining us and your thoughts about the roster, the system, and what you heard in our conversation there with Jeff Grammer. 505-246-0610. It is the opening drive here on The Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury case. Our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong and we're still as local as red and green.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team.
Always appreciate the sound of Jeff Grammer. Great stuff there. Talking portal, NIL market. What would have to change for there to be a system that makes sense across the board? Where there just expectations from both parties when you enter into a contract agreement. We have a system which is in the gray area right now, name, image, and likeness, but it's pay to play. And that you want to have movement. Pro sports has movement, but there's trades, no trade clauses. Would we see trades? Or could you have a system where, yes, the student athlete is employed, has a contract, and whether they want to leave, there's a small buyout. If you don't want them on the roster, well, then you honor your end of the deal to a certain extent, just like we see in pro sports. But it just needs to be a cleaner system because the money, the movement, it's going to be there, but just tighten things up and just have a broad understanding of what football is working with, what basketball is working with. The other Olympic sports that, yeah, the portal is there. They're having to answer these questions without a collective behind them, without huge money being thrown around. They just want a little bit of clarity, a little bit of guidance moving forward in college athletics. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you. NBA playoffs in full swing. NHL action going hard. Round 1 of the NFL draft is tomorrow night. What a week. Can't wait to break it all down tomorrow. And, of course, Friday morning, reacting to all the stuff that we see in round 1 of the NFL draft. 505-246-0610. Sports Animal hotline and text line this morning. Fred, you're on the opening drive. What's going on?
Hey, JJ. Hey, I like what's going on with this basketball team. Something that we definitely are going to have this year that we didn't have last year is we didn't shoot enough threes like a lot of teams do, and this team's going to shoot so many threes. In fact, I think you guys mentioned that at UC San Diego, they shot 50% of their shots were threes, so I'm really excited about that. And the thing is, we don't have to worry about the Chow guy that's 6'9", or the new kid, that JT Rock, not being able to shoot threes. Everybody on the team is going to be able to shoot threes, and so I like our balance right now. Like how many we've got a complete team of 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. Now, is he going to? One question that someday you can ask the coach. I'd like to know what his ideas are using freshmen, because we have so far 2 freshmen. Has he ever had a freshman starting ever before in any of the years he's done it? So, but anyway, that's the one thing I want to talk about. The thing that no one's talked about, and it's not that they're having a great season, but they're not bad as baseball too. We're 5th in the nation in batting right now, and we have I think 12 guys on the team batting over 300, and so I'm pretty excited. We're in 2nd place, or a game out of 1st place, and just want to let everybody know they're playing San Jose State this weekend. Be exciting to have everybody go. We have a guy named Oriach batting .405, one of the top baseball players in baseball. And what was kind of neat is I just found out that he's got an agent, and I don't know if you remember him, JJ, or not. DJ Peterson played, got drafted in the 1st round by Seattle and played in the Seattle organization, but he's the agent for Oriach. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the Sydney Bellany. This would be something that I don't know if you saw, where she had backed away from BYU after she was going to Princeton, backed away from BYU. She did sign. I watched BYU Nation yesterday. She's the 88th ranked lady in high school ball, and she's a 4-star, and she signed with BYU yesterday. So I just want to let everybody know, congratulations to her. Too bad she won a Lobo. Maybe we can get her sister 3 years from now. So that's all I'm going to say. Just add a few things. See you, JJ.
I appreciate it, Fred. Yeah, Lobo baseball 10-8 on the season, tied with the Nevada and San Diego State in the standings. Of course, you got the tiebreakers series, all that. Fresno State's 12-6 top Mountain West Conference on the baseball side. Now, Lobo basketball, they're going to shoot the 3. They're going to stretch the floor, shoot the 3. That's not something we saw last night in the Lakers game, Zay.
Yeah, no, they're shooting, just missing them.
They shot them, but they missed them. The Timberwolves were 5 of 25 from 3. The Lakers were 6 of 29, but it was the effort, a different defensive intensity. And we expected a step back from the role players of Minnesota, like McDaniels, Naz Reid. They were not going to be that hot. But it's Luka Doncic setting the tone offensively, the elite offensive playmaker he is. I know you brought this up a little bit earlier, but it is going to be interesting to see how these teams play in a close game. It's going to happen. It's a 1-1 series. Minnesota ran away with game 1. Game 2, the Lakers were in control despite only scoring 60 points from the second quarter to the end of the game. It's because they were so explosive in that first quarter. They had a 34-15 lead. Because you look at LA, and you're like, all right, you got LeBron, you got Luka pulling the strings late. Minnesota, how are they going to respond? It's an intriguing series. I think going in, the vibe was, it's Luka, it's LeBron, Lakers can be in the Western Conference Finals. And yeah, we overlooked Minnesota a little bit, but then you also see, some of the deficiencies that the T-Wolves have. Your biggest takeaway and what you want to see moving forward for the Lakers is what for them to win the series?
Well, what I think is hilarious is that the number one, agenda you're seeing pushed right now is that, both teams played bad. It was a bad game. And I just think it's hilarious because you look at this score, and this was a very, very, very common score 10 years ago. And I think although the game has changed, I think that people need to understand that just because a game is lower scoring does not mean it's a bad game. We don't do that in the NFL. Like if a game is 10-3, we don't say it was a bad game. We could say it was a good defensive game. And I'm not going to say that this was just a great defensive game between these two teams because the shooting was bad. But what I'd like to see moving forward is I need to see the role players step up. I need to see a higher percentage of threes made because they shoot them. I know it's in their game plan for them to shoot threes. It's in the game plan to put up a certain amount of threes. I know J.J. Redick puts it in these players' head that, look, you know, I want you to shoot three three-pointers this game, 4 3-pointers this game. I need you to get that many up. And I need these players to make them. If they're going to be shooting them, you got to make them. But, yeah, like you said, I want to see a close game when both teams are on. I think yesterday could kind of go as a closer game than the first one was. But I need to see when both teams are hot, when all, you know, all cylinders are clicking, and then I'll be able to see where I feel.
It's what we've gotten with the Nuggets and Clippers, right? It's 2 games.
Yeah, I need a game like that.
Working, late game execution. What's it gonna be? Now, if you end up winning the series, not having a close game, so be it. But you know we're going to get some of those, especially in that matchup. Other games last night, OKC rolled Memphis 118-99.
That's over. That series is over.
Yeah, it was over before it started. But the level of beatdown is just wow. You beat a team by 51 points. As the Thunder did in Game 1, that's exceptional.
Someone's got to punch them in the mouth quick, or they're going to start. The basket's going to be getting bigger and bigger every series.
Pacers take a 2-0 series lead over the Bucks, and we knew the Pacers were going to score. But what was Milwaukee going to do? What's the plan? Dame Lillard came back, played a lot more than I thought he would. You tip your cap to Dame. He managed 37 minutes in his first game since March 18th. Was a little rusty shooting, just 4 of 13 from the field. Finished with 14 points, but Giannis has gone off in 2 games, and it hasn't been close. It hasn't been there for Milwaukee. How do you not have something in place to where, okay, you have role players like Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, but Giannis being the linchpin in that, how do you not have some plan defensively to keep a game close? I'm looking at you, Doc Rivers. Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, your only hope is that, you know, Giannis's running mate can just get some shots to fall. I do think that'll happen this next game. I'm picking Milwaukee, but I do think the Pacers have got this series in the bag.
Oh, yeah. Indiana is solid. They're good. Halliburton and Siakam combination, they're a problem. Now, are they a problem for Boston or Cleveland? Probably not at this point in time. But again, a successful franchise winning a playoff series with an opportunity, there's never anything wrong with that. We come back on the other side. We'll dive into the storylines tonight. Golden State, Houston. Is Jason Tatum? It's coming up next right here on the Sports Animal.
This is Boomer and
You remember the day he poured in 63 points?
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66, built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com.
Got shots? Got shots?
How will teams respond in Game 2? Looking at you, Houston Rockets. Looking at you, Edmonton Oilers. After that wild game the other night, they're down 4-0 entering the third period. They're down 5-3 with 2.5 minutes left. They tie the game, and then they give up the goal with 42 seconds left to the Kings, who take a 1-0 series lead. We'll have Game 2 in LA tonight between the Oilers and Kings. Dallas, Colorado, a fantastic first-round series, tied at 1, going back to Denver. Montreal at Washington. Ovechkin won in Game 1 with an OT goal, his first ever overtime goal in the postseason for the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. JJ Buckstage Johnson with you here on The Sports Animal. Tonight, Orlando at Boston. The Celtics 10.5-point favorites. However, Jason Tatum is doubtful, dealing with some lingering soreness from the wrist injury he suffered when KCP got a little physical with him. KCP and Wendell Carter Jr. collided with Tatum midair. The Celtics forward landed on the ground in the fourth quarter and finished the game. He had 17 points and 8 of 22 shooting, but he's doubtful tonight. Celtics a little upset. Al Horford talking about the physicality. But this is one that, with or without Jason Tatum, the Celtics should win the first-round series. Now, it's something to watch for. Is it going to be a lingering wrist issue the rest of the postseason? Because then that changes your conversation about the Celtics. Would that be the difference with a limited Jason Tatum if we see Cleveland and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals? Would that put Cleveland over the top? So we'll see the Celtics, who are still 10.5-point favorites, even with Jason Tatum doubtful tonight. Cleveland, 11.5-point favorites, Game 2 over Miami. And then Golden State, Houston.
That's a good one. That's a very, very fun one.
Am really excited just to see how much you can learn in one game. Like, Houston was so good, and we get it. The regular season, it's a different beast than the postseason. But I look at Houston, I'm like, you're too good not to put up a fight. Even I get Steph Curry, it's Jimmy Butler. They've been there, done that. Warriors, well, you're too good to not respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really interested to see how much you can learn, how much you can settle down from one game to the next. So the Rockets are 3.5-point favorites tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it because usually going down 3-0 it's a death kiss. So the Rockets, they got to understand, the importance of the game. But I don't know if they can pull it off. I think the Warriors they figured them out. They've got their number. Butler's confidence is at an all-time high, aside from it being the playoffs. Steph's confidence is at an all-time high. I would put my money on Golden State. I don't want to say sweep. I think the next game will be the one that Houston can pull off.
So in Golden State, they would win Game 3. I'm sitting here talking up the Rockets, and I want to see them do something. But I see that line, and I'm like, okay, I'll take the Warriors and the points. I'll take the Warriors and 3.5 points.
Yeah,
you're going to give me that one tonight. That should be the interesting game. Who knows what happens in the other one? But Cleveland actually is up to 12.5 points, favorite over the Heat. Celtics 10.5-point favorites over the Magic. And there's teams I do like. I like the Magic. That's a top 4 team next year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know you're big on them. I'd like to see it transpire. I mean, I'm always a fan of the underdogs. I like the underdog story.
Because they got a dude, Paulo Banchero, and they got a nice number 2, Franz Wagner. And this year, you look at Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, bring him in, trying to find some of those veteran pieces on the edges. And that is a team that I believe in. All right, you learn, you take your lumps, you get better. I think the Magic are going to be really good next year. And with a couple offseason acquisitions, maybe they are close to like a Cleveland emergence where you have the young pieces. And what Cleveland was able to do over the last few years, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, draft pieces that they laid the foundation, and then they acquire Donovan Mitchell, and Jared Allen. And all of a sudden, they take a huge step forward. And I see the Magic being on that path in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, all the power to the Magic. I'm rooting for them. I don't have a reason to root against them. I like the team. I like their energy. And like I said before, I like the underdog story. And Paolo, or is that the right way to say it? I know you're more of the pronunciation guy than me.
Yeah, Paolo Banchero.
Okay, yeah, Paolo. I like him a lot. I think he's an old school player, and big fan of his game.
And I appreciate quality roster building, and when teams are able to draft and develop, and there's a lot of homegrown talent.
Yeah,
on the Magic, you look at Cole Anthony. Now Suggs is out, but Suggs was another lottery pick from Gonzaga a couple years ago in the backcourt. So they have this foundation, and from there, that's when you decide to take those steps forward and maybe have that acquisition that lands a Donovan Mitchell or that veteran piece that can help put you over the top after you get some of that experience. Now the Celtics are just a different beast right now with what they went through their experience with Tatum and Brown and Marcus Smart, that core, and as they were able to take a step forward, and then they brought in Derek White. They're still able to draft really well. Peyton Pritchard, who by the way is 6th man of the year.
Yeah,
they just announced that, and we'll get into that because we haven't got into the awards finalists a whole lot because there's a couple of these. I just wonder, what do we do? Like the most improved player of the year? Like really? Cade Cunningham, a dude on a supermax contract, is going to get
first round
nominated for most improved player of the year?
Yeah, his first pick.
Sometimes no. You can be playing up to the expectation of that, but I don't think you're the most improved player. I'd look at the others, a Zubac having a career year.
I get.
Dyson Daniels, who was a lottery pick in New Orleans, but came into form this year in the Hawks starting lineup.
Yeah, you take it.
Those make sense.
Not being a Lakers fan, how is Reeves not in this?
Okay, I would have
put him over the first pick of the draft.
Yeah,
he's
if
undrafted.
Austin Reeves was on that list over Cade Cunningham, I would have that conversation, that debate. That's an interesting one.
Now, a better player? No, you don't have to go there. No,
but it's like
I'll put
in the NFL when they gave comeback player of the year to Geno Smith.
Yeah,
why? Just because?
Because he was bad
and he was just good, so you're a comeback player. Maybe that in that case, that's most improved player.
Yes.
Like something along those lines. And then in most valuable player, it's going to be between Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Giannis. And to me, it's the only debate for the voters between Jokic and SGA.
Mm-hmm. Who you got?
I was leaning SGA, but you average a triple-double.
No.
Like the Nuggets weren't scrubs. Now, they didn't run away with the Western Conference like the Thunder did. And
Yeah.
SGA being the leading scorer, being the go-to player on that team, I think that's what wins him the award. But I think this voting is going to be really close.
Interesting. I'm taking Shai just because best player on the best team.
Usually how it goes.
Yep.
They gave it to Russ when he wasn't.
Yeah, that's just
on the best team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I want to thank Jeff Grammer for hanging out with us this morning. Of course, great coverage of Lobo basketball in the Albuquerque Journal and so much more. We got Colin Cowherd coming up next. The Jim Rome Show follows that at 1 o'clock. 2 men on will take you up until the fringes of Isopes Baseball. They continue their series in Reno. Zay, appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Talk tomorrow, NFL Draft Day. Adrian on ProView. Everybody, metal will peace and love. Have a great day.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Sweet Rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
Agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hi, my name is Ruben, and I'm with the New Mexico Educational Assistance Foundation. We are proud sponsors of high school and college sports. Either college or trade, we can help you find the funding you need. Go to nmfasfa.org. That's nmfasfa.org